cat did that. But I mean, I can change this picture often if you want me to.
Um, I think it's good. I think that that's an accurate representation. So we are. I did start recording, so we're not
Oh,
live,
good,
but we're rolling. So I
good.
have I took a little bit of time, not really as much time as I wanted to, but to listen to the Legs and Eggs podcast.
Yep,
Um,
that's
so why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the podcast and maybe how you guys got started and how it's going?
okay. So first, I'm Clem Stump,
Okay,
and
okay, all right. I do have to pause you right there, because
okay,
this is pretty wild of a coincidence to me. Is that your real name? Oh,
no,
no, no,
is is Stump your real last name?
it is. Yes,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it is. Which is why I had to point it out. I have. It's weird with this last name because I get asked more than you would think if I'm related to whatever, this stump, this stump, this stump, but always there's an F at the end of it. So it's not STUMP, it's STUMPF. And I'm like, I'm not related. I don't, there's no F in my name. I'm not, that's not me. But it's
Wow.
like 3 times a year, somebody's like, oh, are you related to this? Like, no.
I Stump is one of those names that it's like a if someone introduced themselves to me as, like you, I'm John Stump. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a normal, would think nothing of it. But it's also like one of my favorite joke last names for some reason.
I get it.
So I don't know why, because it's also a completely normal last name. It's my favorite one though. I also have Cappy Short Sleeve is another one
Oh,
name
that's a
I
good
made
one.
up. And I think Tallulah Sponge Cake.
Tallulah sponge cake.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I just like make up names. So my husband is Fupa Jones. So I'll go back to my podcast.
Please do.
So I'm Clem Stump, and then there we have Fupa Jones on the podcast. Host there's four of us that co-host the Legs and Eggs podcast, and we're a comedy, or we're
Yes.
trying to be, I guess.
No, I would, yes, for sure.
Someone the other day told me we were really funny, so I'm feeling good about myself right now. But we're comedy, and we touch on some serious subjects, but we like to mostly just make people laugh. So it's me, Clem Stump, Fupa Jones, who's my husband, Heather,
Hmm? Heather?
and Heather, just Heather,
Just Heather?
just Heather.
Yeah.
She and Sarah the Ruthless.
Sarah. Oh, Sarah the Ruthless.
Yep. So, and we all just, we've all known each other for a long time. Like Heather and I grew up together. I met Sarah when we were teenagers and we worked at a Dunkin' Donuts together. So, we
Mm.
vibe real well.
I can tell. That's one of the things that I found engaging. I think about the podcast was you guys all seemed to gel with each other, and it was all very organic, very natural feeling. So as a listener, I mean, sometimes it can be difficult to break in to a new podcast. Even if the podcast is good, there can still be like that time in the beginning where you have to kind of warm up to what's happening. But with you guys, I felt it was easy to sort of like it was very natural feeling, the whole thing.
Yeah, so we get on. We're heavily edited. I edit. That's my big thing that I do. And so
Gotcha.
we just get on Zoom and record for a couple of hours, and we keep it in our head that we're recording the podcast, but we just talk about so much shit. And then wait, can I like swear and
Oh yeah,
stuff?
yeah, totally fine, totally
Okay,
fine.
good, because that would be really hard if I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So we like just like joke around and say stupid stuff, and then I go back and edit it. That's why it sounds like that. So it
Well,
is
whatever you guys are doing, like it works, um, and I'm sure because the one that I was listening to, I think, was the most recent one on Spotify. Which hold on, the title alone, I think, is worth mentioning.
when cum is involved, there is no ethics.
Exactly. Yes. When cum is involved, there is no ethics. Um,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was our guest. I have a question that I ask all of my guests. And when he answered it, that was something that he said. And he then asked me that I cut it out in the editing if we could name the podcast that. So I didn't actually even name it.
Those those are the best names though when it just arises naturally.
Yes. But he
Yeah.
actually says that in this episode. And I think there's a song about it too.
So was it were the songs from the guest, or is that just part of your thing?
Oh yeah, no, that's just part of our thing. Like
That's
Sarah
amazing.
Sarah makes all the background music, so all of that music you hear was all made by Sarah.
Wow.
And then she makes the Fupa is the one that's doing like all the singing. I think I sing one song at some point. We have a bunch of songs that we recorded, but yeah, all the ones where they're singing is Fupa, and all the ones where it's like just sounds cut together is
Mm.
Sarah.
Hmm.
I'm really fucking high. So you
That's
just
awesome.
like stop me at any time when I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. I'm really tired, so if you can carry the show, please do.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can do that.
I'm mostly joking. Although I am exhausted, but
Oh.
so um so there are four of you. I feel like my mic is like out of control right now.
You sound
Um,
good.
well, that's good. My ears are kind of messed up. I went swimming on Sunday and got water in one of my ears, and now it's just like I don't know what happened, but I can't hear out of it. It's been like 3 days.
Oh my God. I used to get ear infections all the time as a kid and I still get them as
Mm,
an adult. That could be like the start of like an ear infection.
great.
Ugh. Well,
That's my favorite.
well, it would be a fungal infection. So I'm not a doctor, so don't sue me if this doesn't work. But if you put half a mixture of half rubbing alcohol and half white vinegar, few drops in your ear, let it
Mm.
sit for a minute and dump it out, do it like twice a day for a week, it'll take care of it.
Okay.
But don't sue me if
Listen, I don't have money for lawyers, so you're
okay,
safe.
because I'm not a doctor. I made that clear. I'm a hairdresser. I actually have to say that when people ask me about like hair loss, I have to start with I'm not a doctor and this isn't medical advice.
You ever had anybody try to sue you?
No,
Well, that's good. It sounds like
because I
because
make sure they know I'm not a doctor.
oh, it sounds like it's paying off then.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, any other questions? Because, I can answer. I'm sorry, I'm very high.
I don't remember my train of thought. So I was asking you about the podcast. You were telling me that it's you and your husband Fupa?
Fupa Jones.
Hoopa.
Fupa with an
Oh,
F.
okay, I was right. Fupa.
Yep,
Um
Fupa Jones.
Plain old Heather
Yep,
and um shit.
Sarah the
Sarah
Ruthless.
the Ruthless. I couldn't get the barbarian out of my head. But,
She'd appreciate
yeah.
that if you had called her that.
Um,
So,
so
yeah.
so all of you guys have like known each other for a long time, which is part of the reason why you gel so well. Uh, how long have you been doing the podcast?
Okay, so um I think our first episode of Legs and Eggs was in November of 2022. And in June
Okay.
of 2022, Sarah used to have a podcast called Trash for the Working Class. I think she still has it, and I think she puts stuff out on it sometimes. And Foop and I had a podcast called Anal House.
Sure. As
And
one does.
Sarah and I used to collaborate all the time, and Heather was like a frequent guest.
Mm.
So we were like, why don't we just bring it all together? And so we just rebranded as Legs and Eggs, and the four of us were like, because we're always doing stuff together.
So you guys are on Spotify. Anywhere else? I didn't.
Spotify.
I didn't find you on YouTube, but maybe I didn't look
Yeah,
quite well
that's
enough.
because we're not on YouTube yet because we're getting videos, but you know how our show is skits and very segmented.
Yeah.
So we want to make like videos that sort of
That
match that.
gotcha. Which is a whole nother process.
Yeah.
Oh. So how long do you spend editing your videos
My I don't
or
even
podcasts?
know.
I guess, but
I don't even know because I go through so I record multi-track. Um then I have to download it all and I load it up. I do everything in GarageBand. I load it up into
hmm,
GarageBand and then I go through it and like rough cut it up into segments.
gotcha.
And then I have to then make new folders for the all those segments and then go through and like really do the detailed editing, and I have to do that on my phone. I can't do
Hmm.
that on a computer and I don't know why.
Huh.
So I have to have all these multi-tracks. I have to have it on my phone like in front of me with my headphones on just, and so those take the 5 minute segment. Each 5 minute segment will probably take me a total of 2 hours.
Holy shit. Let me just tell you, that sounds like a nightmare for me. I
It is
I hate editing. I hate it. Which is
okay.
I hate like the video edit. Which is it's funny because I actually really enjoy editing, um, like text and script and things like that. But I hate the video editing. I just, which is kind of why part of the reason why I most of my videos are reactions because they're plug and play. Like there's very little editing that I ever have to do. I just hit record and then when it's done, I can just upload it. So it just
Yeah.
that sounds like a nightmare to me.
Okay. It's my favorite thing to do.
And that's awesome. That's awesome for you.
I like love to just sit there. I love to edit audio. I love to edit videos. But where you like editing text and like you'll go, I can't
Mm.
stand doing that.
Yeah.
I hate editing like anything I write. Fupa has to do all of that
It's
for
funny because
me.
I actually just realized this about myself like 2 nights ago that I genuinely enjoy editing text. So I was messing around with Chat GPT and I was like, I wonder if I could get Chat GPT to write me the script for a video that I could shoot. And so the short answer is yes, with an asterisk, because the script that it produced was like the scaffolding, but it wasn't just you couldn't just read from it. And like 3 hours later, I realized that I just spent 3 hours editing the script that it had written, and like it was a really rewarding process the whole way through. And I'm like, oh, I've always kind of enjoyed this, which is funny because I hate editing my own videos. So
Right.
it was an interesting little insight that I had.
But that's all that's more than editing that you're doing. You're writing. Like, yeah,
Yes,
the
yes.
chat GPT is giving you an outline, but you're writing it.
You know,
Like, I'm just saying, give yourself more credit.
I think the reason I drew the distinction is because my writing process is 95% editing. Like I'll get bogged down in editing one paragraph for an entire night. And
Right.
so when I think about writing, the whole thing feels a little bit, I would say, overwhelming to me. But if I have like an outline, if I have a scaffolding for something, then yeah,
I
apparently
get
it's
that.
different.
I get that. It's like I describe it as like you like to start in the middle
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
because I that's how like I use Chat GPT all the time if I'm going to write something, but I use it like the way you do as an
Mm.
outline because I always say I can't if I'm staring at a blank page, I will never know what to do. But if I'm
Right.
staring at something written terribly, I'll
You know
rewrite the
exactly
whole
what to
yeah,
do.
I will rewrite
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, you are writing, you are creating. And I'm big on people acknowledging that they're doing more than just like, because editing sometimes feels like, oh, I'm editing someone else's work,
Right.
but you're not, you're creating your own work.
This is true. This is true. Um, and I didn't want to come across as like I was trying to take anything away from myself. I don't really do
Oh,
that.
good.
I tend to think that I have a pretty level head on my shoulders, so I'm very aware of the things that I do well, and I'm also very aware of the things that I don't do well. So,
Good.
um,
I, I'm
yeah,
just, I get high and I become my mother, and it's all like, just like motivational speeches all the time.
that's look. Listen, if I became my mother, I would not. It would be mostly screaming and uh, also screaming at baseball.
Okay.
That's kind of, listen. I have a complicated relationship with my. I guess I should say I had a complicated relationship with my mother. She passed in 2018,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Just some
So
lighthearted conversation right here.
no, you know it's all right. It's all right. I'm like 2/3 of the way through the whiskey, so
Okay. I'm just
we're
trying to lighten the mood, So, I'm not, don't remember me as Debbie Downer.
it's okay. One of the things that I do well is that I'm able to navigate. I actually enjoy the more intense, like interpersonal
Oh, okay.
discussion. So this is easy for me. It's actually easier than like the. I'll be honest with you, the comedy stuff. Like I get really, my old supervisor described me as a very reflective person, and that was the nicest way that anybody has ever described my inability to articulate a thought in the moment. Was that I'm reflective. Um, so
I love it.
yeah, um, which side note is also one of the reasons why I started doing this YouTube channel is because I want to get better at like being able to speak off the cuff and like kind of enhance the wittiness and so the YouTube channel is a great way for me to practice that. And I think that I've made some pretty significant gains personally on that front. But I don't
Hey,
remember why I started that thought. So
that's fine.
I'm going to leave it up to you to finish it for me.
That's fine. I'm gonna say, as far as your videos go, I liked the reactions, but I have to tell you, I've heard none of that music. So I was like, what is happening here?
Well,
It's like
that's kind of the point, I think.
like I'm okay, so I'm almost 50, so it's like a little bit like I'm like now I feel old. Oh, I got my cat on my lap. That's how I felt
Hmm.
about it. But I liked it. I like feeling old. So
Oh, there you go. I can make you feel old.
why how old are you?
Oh God, 33. Is that right? That's right.
Oh,
33.
babies.
Yeah.
No, I just like to say that. That's a fully formed adult.
It is. It is. It is. But you know what I realized? You don't actually become like for me personally, I didn't really become an adult until I had kids. And then I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I don't get to be a kid anymore cuz I have people who rely on me."
Hey, how old are the kids?
One is 3.5, and the other is 5.5 months.
Oh, little
Yeah, little
babies.
baby. She's a little
Oh,
baby.
I don't have any kids, but I love kids, but I love
They
little
are
babies.
awesome. Like, they're the most intense and difficult thing that I've ever done with my life. But at the same time, it's like especially the toddler. It's the most like rewarding. Oh, your cat turned on your video there.
Oh, Nina. There we
There
go.
you go.
Okay. She was
Um,
gonna start showing her butthole, so
I mean,
that's what
you
she
know,
does. That's what cats do. But okay,
does
so
she
the
have an
3 year old,
OnlyFans?
she should.
Right. I
So
mean,
you
why
were
not?
saying I want to hear about your kids. You were saying the 3 year old. You were right in that thought.
I mean, it's wild how like one of the things that kids do is they really dilate your sense of time. So it's like she's 3.5, but like a week ago she was just born. And people say that you hear that from people who have like they just say like life is short. I think is what it boils down to. But it's like kids. It's almost like they suck the time out of you. And to see who she is now and then look at our infant and realize that, oh no, this toddler thing was also this infant thing not too long ago, but now like has her own personality and like she's a firecracker, man. She like goodness. um yeah.
Yeah. So does she's not old enough, like she wouldn't start pre-K yet, right? Or like a nursery school or anything.
No, we're waiting until 5, I think, at least
Oh,
to start that. So, and we
okay.
want to go like the more non-traditional route. So we're looking at Montessori schools in the area, uh, things like that.
Oh, that's good.
So, so
I just love like little kids once they have their little friends, like
yeah.
they're in nurseries well with it, and when they come and they talk to you about their little friends, oh, it's so cute. I love kids. I really, they everything they do is just adorable.
I mean, the tantrums are not. They're not. Like the tantrums aren't adorable,
True.
But what is, I think, admirable is that like I'll watch my toddler have a tantrum and then calm herself down. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I know adults who couldn't do that. Like legitimately. What she's capable of doing. Um
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't know. I guess we're doing something right as parents because she's able to do that. But good lord, it's impressive.
It
You know?
really is. I mean, from a non-parent perspective, like all of these things are like cute because I don't have to deal with them every
Right.
day.
Right.
But oh, I love how, what's the word? Like, oh, I can't remember. Like, it's smart, like how much they're learning at that age. That's what
Right.
the word I was
Right.
looking for.
Right. Learning.
Learning, like, it's just like how much they're learning, like all the things that like we know, and that they're learning so much information at that age,
Yeah.
and just watching them do it is just, I don't know, adorable.
And it's like she has like they have like quantum leaps too, and like their intelligence and their ability to recall and really construct arguments against why they need to go to bed or why they can't have, another slice of another cookie or another piece of cake. Like, and they're compelling. Like, the thing is like, she's very compelling with her arguments, and it's like, good lord.
Oh my God.
And it's like, if you're like, and there's like these quantum leaps where it's like, before, okay, she could string some words together and it was mostly emotional that she would try to convince you with, but then out of nowhere one day she strings a whole sentence together, a whole phrase together, that like clicks in a different way with you that it hadn't before. And it's like, what and I'm like, oh, because she's developing, obviously. Like, the psychologist part of my brain kicks in and it's like, oh, she's developing, she's becoming more sophisticated neurologically. But to experience it, like, it doesn't do it justice to say that it's neurological sophistication. No, it's god damn it, I have to give her a fucking cookie now because she won the guy. She's 3.5 and she won the fucking argument.
That was a good solid joke.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because the direction I thought that was going to go to then go, that's a good solid joke.
I appreciate that. I told you I feel like I've made some progress. But you know you don't really know until you battle test.
Yeah, no. And like I say lots of terribly unfunny things. You just put it out there. I mean, and I don't mean just the unfunny things that I say that are just like not funny. I mean, like, I thought they were good jokes and I just put them out there. They're terribly unfunny. They land terribly. So then you just learn from that, make that joke anymore.
And I say it in a different life, but I really probably mean in a different time. Uh, I would really make an effort to do stand up. I've always felt comfortable in front of crowds talking to people, like, much more than the one-on-one stuff. Like, this right now for me is actually a little bit stressful, just
Oh, I'm
talking to
sorry.
you. No, it's okay. It's that's part of why I'm doing it, is because I want to like overcome that fear, um
Yes.
but in front of a whole crowd, I'm much more comfortable.
I can
um
get that.
so
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. No, I'm just thinking about it. Sorry.
think away.
But that's
i'm
like,
not
that's
gonna
this.
i'm not gonna edit this, but like, you're more than welcome to, like, by all means. I don't know if you're
No.
recording this, but you're also more than welcome to record it from your end and do stuff with it. On the other
No.
hand, if you want the file, I can send the file to you and you can do
Oh,
whatever you want with it.
oh, thank you. I might, I might not. Either way, you never know. I might make a song with it.
Hey, you know
But no, I think that's what a lot of actors, how a lot of like actors are, that, they're uncomfortable one on one. Like, have you ever watched, who was it? George Clooney do an interview, like, not about the movie that he was in, like just a regular interview. He's like so nervous.
Hmm.
Um, but they do really well, like on the stage. I think, like, so I get it. I also have an anxiety disorder. So
So, like,
I
being
also
being in front of a lot of people would trigger that for you?
no, like, it's taken me a while to even be comfortable like talking to people like this.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely get that. Yeah. To be
so
honest with you, I wouldn't notice. I wouldn't know if you didn't tell me.
oh.
'Cause you're very easy to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
Hmm.
It's 3 years of therapy. So
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you. Good for you.
yeah, it's what my therapist, specifically my therapist, is becomes a running joke on the podcast. So all of this stuff comes up a lot for me because, like, okay, so my therapist is everyone, all of my friends make fun of me and they're like, how do you do this? My therapist is, I think, 33.
Okay.
So I've like, so it was like 30 and I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, how can you even such a baby? He hasn't been out of school very long. And he's like a wonderful therapist. I've seen him for almost 3 years now, but he's a little hippy dippy. And
Sure.
sometimes like he wears flowy pants. And like sometimes he grows out a mustache,
Just a mustache?
just a
Oh God,
mustache.
I can't. I can't.
And his favorite thing to say is, your feelings are valid.
I mean, they are though.
And so I can't help but make fun of him because I'm like really not like that at all.
I mean,
My
oh,
Oh
no, go
no, you
ahead.
go.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
I was gonna say my mother is really hippy dippy.
Okay,
So I'm, as much as I love my mother, um, I'm like the exact opposite of that.
I get it. No, I get it for sure. Um,
I can tell you stories about my mom if you find
um,
that interesting.
uh, one of the things that I and I'll answer your question in a second, but one of the things that I think about a lot is that you are you become interesting by what you're interested in. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the other things that I think I do well is I have like a knack for finding a way to be interested in pretty much anything. With,
That's
I mean, with like very little exception. So, if you want to tell me stories about your mother, I will find a way to be interested in. But at the same time, I'm also not like, you don't have to worry that you'll be boring me because I will tell you to shut the fuck up if I'm bored.
okay.
So yeah, why don't you tell me a story about your mother that plays into why or no. Tell me a story about your mother that plays into what you get out of doing the podcast.
Ooh,
Mm,
ooh,
mm,
that's a good deep
mm,
question.
mm.
Okay. What I get out of doing the podcast.
If you
Hmm.
need a minute to think, that's fine. Because if the glass is empty, so I can go refill if you want to take a minute to think.
Yeah,
I can also
yeah.
pause the recording too, so there's no lag time. You ready? Did you think of one?
I actually thought about something completely different.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Let's hear it.
anyways, I was just sitting here thinking, I remembered why I was so excited to talk to you tonight, and that was because you had posted about you were interested in prison and prison reform.
Yes, this is true.
And I was like really actually very excited
Awesome.
to talk to somebody about that.
Um, okay, let's talk
So,
about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I have a friend, and I'm not going to say her name or where she lives, but she's a psychologist and she works in the prison system.
Hmm.
And so like she's really big. I believe she focused on prison was focusing on mental illness in prison while she
Hmm.
was in getting her PhD.
Hmm.
So I've had like lots of conversations with her about things that happen to mentally ill people in prison and just in general how terrible they are.
Right.
So, and that I hate private prisons more than even more than prison itself.
Hmm. I mean, so I don't remember exactly how much detail I went into in the post, but I worked as a substance abuse counselor in one of the prisons in Delaware.
Okay.
So if you don't know the difference between like a prison and jail, is that jail is county specific. Prison is either state or federal
Right.
specific. So I worked for one of the actually Delaware doesn't have any jails. We have 5 state prisons. Uh, and so I worked in uh I don't know if I should name which one, but um I worked in the one in Sussex County. We'll say that. One of the ones in Sussex County. So um there's only
Mm-hmm.
one, so you can't. It's a little easy to just a little bit of work on your part. I think you could deduce which one. Um, but I worked there for a little over a year, and
Mm-hmm.
where where we were part of the quote unquote road to recovery program,
Uh-huh.
and so the idea was that our unit housed up to 70 people, somewhere about
Mm-hmm.
there. And most of the people who came into the program were basically court mandated to it and effectively would have their sentence suspended upon completion of the program. So on the surface, it looked like there was incentive for them to actually engage with the program so that they could have, like we had some guys have like 20 plus years of time suspended upon completion of the road to recovery program, which was like a 6 to 9 month program.
Uh-huh.
So when I was first hired, I thought that, oh, this is actually a really good thing. Like we can work with these guys, we can get them basically get their head on straight, and in the process, we'll be doing like a lot of good for the community. Um, goodness, it's not that. That's not what it is. Um, and it's funny because I haven't actually processed really any of what happened during my time in the prison, and it's been over a year since I've worked there, and I'm
Oh,
kind of
wow.
only just realizing that now as I'm talking to you.
Oh, wow.
So, um, it wasn't you, but one of the other people that I was talking to made a comment, something along the lines of like, "Oh, it sounds like you have a lot of like really good stories to tell," and I felt a little bit like you showed up for your uh, calculus final without any pants on. Also, you didn't take calculus, so there was like a real like uh, uh, a sense of like existential angst about the fact that like, oh, I should have all of these stories to tell, and I'm like, I don't have any stories. It's not that I don't have any stories. It's that like I haven't actually processed what happened in a meaningful way to be able to talk about it, right?
Right.
So that's where we are now. So thanks for being here for me
Oh,
for that.
you're
What would
welcome.
what would you like to know? I need a little bit of direction here. I think
Okay, so just what are your thoughts and your ideas on how
my
to?
thoughts. So one of the thoughts that I had pretty early on was that, oh my god, this isn't working. Oh my god, nothing about the recidivism rate specifically in this program was something like 97%, right? And
It's
so
heartbreaking.
recidivism, for those who might not know, is like the within, I think, a 2 year period, the likelihood that the offender will offend again and be brought back to prison, sent back to prison.
Mm-hmm.
So the recidivism rate is in this program specifically was like 97%. I'm like, oh my god, this isn't, nothing about this is working. Nothing about this is working. And then I realized, no, 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 no. This is working exactly as someone intended it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, that was the moment that I think the fire was kind of lit within me, because somebody wants this to continue to happen. Somebody
Yep.
wants people to continue to reoffend. And the systems are set up to promote recidivism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they're private prisons, and a prison doesn't make a profit unless it's being given the money, which it only gets by housing the
Mm.
prisoners.
Yep.
So they're going to make the prisons a place that people have to return. It's just like the rehab industry,
Mm. Exactly.
where, where it's just that's how they make their money. They can't possibly be in it to help people, because if they helped everyone, they'd go broke. So they're in it to get you to keep coming back and thinking that it works.
Mm.
And these, to me, what becomes the most important is these are real people's lives.
Yes.
They have value.
Oh,
Like,
no, not just value, but like the sheer untapped potential of these guys. It's just, it's incomprehensible. Like the amount, the level of artistry alone would
are you
blow your
talk
mind.
are you talking about like prison tattoos?
I'm talking about. I mean, that's one, I think, expression of it. But one of the guys that I worked with did these incredible portraits of people. Like, he would take a picture and then he would draw you a portrait of it, and it was uncanny.
Oh
And he
wow.
did this for like basically all of the guys on the unit, and it's like, you know, the rose growing in the concrete jungle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone else around me, like, who was on my side, just didn't seem to notice what was going on. I'm like, what? How? There's something here, guys. There's something, and there's something here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I think that like all the time. And that's why I mentioned like prison tattoos is I would just look at these prison tattoos that people have, and I'm like, this is amazing. Why
it's
isn't
absolutely
anyone
amazing.
encouraging, like really encouraging art in this person? Like
Mm,
that's the direction they need to be going.
right,
And also, a tattoo artist is a legitimate job if you're really looking to help people
right.
move on with their lives when they get out.
And tattoo, being a tattoo artist was the goal of a lot of the people that I worked with, and it was like, it was infuriating that there was no avenue for them to, it was like they didn't work with people to get them onto a you know, oh, here's how you obtain a business license kind of thing to do this, here's what you need to do this on the outside. No, it wasn't any of that.
Right. It's just, you know, do these bullshit steps that are going to get you back in here. There's no
Yeah,
help for you in here. There's no help for you when you go back
but we do make
because,
$27,000 a year off of you being in here. But
yeah,
don't look at that. That's not, you know, that doesn't play into you know, to how we have this whole thing structured.
yeah,
We want rehabilitation.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because if you
yeah,
wanted rehabilitation, you would have it.
exactly, exactly. Which was like parallel to the thought that, like, oh, this is functioning exactly how somebody intended it to function.
Exactly. Because if they want, if they look, if you want it to be able to fix people, there's so much research out there on, I don't, fix is the wrong word, but
Hmm.
or help people. There's so much research out there on what to do.
Well, let alone, I mean, like, I don't know if you're aware of this. If you're not, you should definitely look into it because it sounds like you're something that you're interested in. But like what they're doing in Norway and I think Finland, the
Yes.
Netherlands generally with the prison systems over there, it's like their recidivism rate is less than 20% across the board. Like it's amazing, and we just like
Yes.
thumb our nose at it over here.
Yep. So there's a doctor here in the United States, and I don't know her last name. Her mother is a client of mine. I'm a hairdresser in real
Mm.
life. Um,
In real life.
but she's divorced, so I don't know the daughter's last name, so I
Mm.
can't give you the daughter's last name. But she's a doctor here in the United States, geriatrics,
Mm.
and she got into with the practice she was in. I can't remember how this started. She like once a month went up and treated geriatric patients at she's out in San Francisco. So at the prison.
Mm.
So while she was there, just from a medical standpoint, they were like getting terrible care.
Oh, it's
And
horrendous. Yeah.
as she researched more, she realized there were better ways. So she's now like full time just um prison reform, but she goes to Norway like a couple of times a year to like bring people, like she'll get hired by
Mm.
prisons to like bring, or like by a county,
Mm.
to bring people over to Norway to show them the Norwegian model, and then to try to she's constantly trying to get it implemented back here in the
Mm.
United
Oh my! It
States.
would be so. It would just. It would do. I think so much for this country.
It would.
Just that. I mean, because again, one of the things that strikes me that really just struck me is how much untapped potential, like unrefined potential there is, and it's like I'm coming at it from a humanitarian view because it's like people's lives have value, right? And that's incontrovertible in my mind. But even from a you could say like a pragmatic or conservative or even just like a business point of view, these are people who could be contributing in massive ways to even just like straight up the GDP of our country, and we're just allowing them to fester in this cesspool of
Yeah, to make some billionaires even more money, because that's who owns the private prison. So as long
exactly.
as these people aren't working and contributing and making their own money and adding value to society, because communities are happier. I truly believe this. Communities everywhere, like your small town, your big city, anything, they're happier when everything's like local.
Yes,
So you don't
agreed.
want to go to Walmart, you don't want to go to Target, you want you're
The
just
yeah the
happier
local
when you
shops.
can
Yeah.
go to all your local shops, you go to your local grocer. Keeping people locked up in prison keeps people that could be contributing to different little communities from being able to do that.
Right.
And that's, why we have. Okay, so one, I should put straight up, I am a Marxist. Okay, straight up. I'm not a Marxist Leninist. I appreciate Lenin, but straight up, so I'm a Marxist. So I'm going to come at everything from that perspective
And
because,
I'm just gonna interject here is like I am not a Marxist. I'm actually very much a capitalist, but I'm
okay.
I'm I'm a humanitarianist. I think as well. So I think there's a middle ground here.
I think so too. But I was just wanted to put it out there that I'm going to come at it from everything from a very anti-capitalist view.
Perfectly fine.
So, um, now where did I leave off? Yeah, no, it's the as long as those communities can't thrive, because, they're holding us all hostage by keeping half of these people in prison for
Mm.
crimes that aren't even worth, like, people are still in for weed charges.
Oh, it's asinine. It's deplorable. It's horrendous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yo,
any,
I'm sorry. Again, I'm going to stop you. I'm a little bit fired up right now. But
yeah.
we had one guy who was in for life for possession of cocaine. Life.
Oh my God.
Life. But he
The,
came to our program, and after 12 years of arguing with the state of Delaware, 12 years of arguing with the state of Delaware, he was finally granted the option, the opportunity for release, upon completion of this program. But for life, in 1989, I remember because he was sentenced the year I was born for a crime. Actually, what's even more mind-boggling is that he didn't even possess cocaine at the time that he was arrested.
what the, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the reason it sticks out to me is also because he was like, I didn't have cocaine on me, but I had done other things in the past that was basically God's way of catching up to me
No.
and making me atone for it. And it just like I didn't know how to process what he like he had spent 33 years in prison for something he didn't do.
That's,
It
that
it
is, I mean, disgusting.
doesn't even begin
Cocaine, a party
doesn't
drug.
even begin to disgusting doesn't even begin to capture
Yeah.
what that was.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think
Possession,
anyone should.
just possession.
Yeah.
Not even possession with intent to distribute, not even like just possession.
Yeah. That's insane.
Mm.
That's like bananas.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone should be in jail for drug crimes. I really don't care if people use drugs.
No, no, there shouldn't be. I agree with you 100% on this. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
As
if
long as
they
you're not
want,
hurting anybody, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
if you have an addiction, then there should be treatment.
yeah,
And that's it. Period. End of sentence.
yeah. And most drugs are like anything. You can be addicted or not addicted. Like,
Absolutely.
I like the weed, but I'm not a big drug user. But so I'm not like speaking because I want them legal for me.
Right.
Um, because I'm in New York, weed is legal.
Although I think people should be able to do what they want.
Yeah, just not everyone who uses cocaine gets addicted to cocaine.
Actually, most people who use cocaine don't get addicted to cocaine. Cocaine's actually not even all that addictive. Cocaine is addictive in the same way that weed is addictive. There's very little physiological, biological, very little chemical hooks in cocaine.
Yeah, I've
Just as a
known.
point.
So I'm a hairdresser in New York City. So you can imagine um all the stereotypes about hairdressers are true. You can imagine I know lots of cocaine users. I
Sure.
only knew two cocaine addicts,
Mm. Look,
and
listen.
that
Every
was out of
single
a
one of my
lot.
brothers is a cocaine user.
Right.
I've never used it personally, but look, I've done other stuff, so who am I to judge?
Yeah, and most people, it's like a fun night out for a lot of people. Like, who cares?
That's the
Like,
thing. And also, I'm also prescribed. Like, I have ADHD, so I'm prescribed the legal form of cocaine. So it's like, what are we really talking about here? What are we really talking about here?
right. The drugs aren't the problem. My father used
Agreed.
to say that if you removed all the alcohol from the world, just bam, disappeared, there would no more alcohol, you'd have a bunch of cocaine addicts because the
100%.
problem is the addiction. And we don't know what causes it. Is it
Oh,
developmental? Or
I,
is it
I, I,
genetic?
I would push back at least a little bit on that. Because the one thing that's common in every single person that I've ever worked with in this field is
Hmm.
trauma. Trauma. Physical, emotional, mental. There's always some form of trauma. Always. It's the
Yeah.
unifying factor in addiction is trauma.
Okay. So I will agree with that, but then it becomes what else causes it? Because not everyone who goes through trauma becomes an addict. So is there
Right.
also,
Okay, so maybe unprocessed trauma.
right. So is there, but is there, I'm big on the brain as being just another organ in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So is there actual, maybe the trauma causes something in the brain the same way like smoking causes something in your lungs, you know?
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So is there a medical cure for addiction? That's
Hmm.
what I think. Like,
Ooh, that's a good question.
and why don't we explore that? And it goes back to the
Well,
same thing of
the
the prison reform is because there's money to be made off these people not getting better.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and to that point, I mean, I don't want to lose the thread completely because I pour stiff drinks, so I'm a little bit, you know,
Oh,
off the rails a little bit. So I'm counting on you to hold the anchor here. But when I worked for the methadone clinic, the owner was so intent. He was like, "We need to get to 300 patients. We need to get to 300 patients because at 300 patients, that's when we start making money. That's when we start making money at 300." And
yeah.
it's like, there's a thing there that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Like, why is this a for profit thing?
Right.
Because so we had a conversation, I can't even remember how many episodes back. It was just me, Sarah, and Heather. I think Fupa may have joined in, he may not. We were talking about this methadone clinic that was it's I'm originally from Cape Cod and Sarah and Heather still live there.
Mm,
This methadone clinic that was like down the street from where I grew up, that my house I grew up in.
mm,
And Heather had a problem with it being for profit, that every morning you'd see someone there getting their fix.
mm-hmm.
And then they'd immediately just then go over to I think it was, there's a supermarket across the street from it,
Mm-hmm.
go over to the supermarket and do drug deals. And she
Right.
was like really upset because this guy's just making a profit. He's not trying to help anyone.
Right.
Where me and Sarah are both just like, well, if they want methadone, have them, give them methadone. So I hadn't really thought of it the way that Heather did until she had brought that up.
I mean, we saw, like, I would say probably 70% of the people who came into the methadone clinic were, it was just common knowledge that they were just looking to make their high cheaper. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
methadone was free, it was government subsidized. So if you, pretty much everybody who came to the clinic was on Medicaid. And so Medicaid covers 100% of substance abuse treatment,
Mm-hmm.
specifically like the methadone, Suboxone, and Subutex. But there are issues with that. There are issues anytime you bring the state into something. So and the issues being that, like, it really just comes down to, like, what's the bottom line monetarily.
Right. Now,
So you have 7 out of 10 people coming in to make their high cheaper with methadone or Subutex or Suboxone or whatever it is.
mhm.
But the caveat to that being, you know, the 3 out of 10 who were coming in there were actually looking for help.
Right.
right? And probably of the three, one of them we would actually help. So there's a humanitarian argument there too. Like, do we shut this thing down because we're helping most of the people get a cheaper high, or do we congratulate ourselves for helping the ones who genuinely want to be helped? Do
Hmm.
you see why it's a sticky subject just all
Yeah.
around the whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, you as an individual, you didn't cause this problem. So you should be taking credit for focusing on the one person you helped.
Hmm.
Because this is obviously a bigger issue than just this clinic.
Hmm.
Now, in my opinion, it's allowing private companies to make a profit off services that should just be provided for free with tax dollars by the federal government. You know,
Hmm.
why does the federal government pay the middleman who gets to um raises prices on how much he charges the government? We know how much it costs.
Hmm.
We can just do it.
$14 a day is what we made on our clients at the methadone
Right.
clinic. $14 a day.
Right. Now, if it wasn't a like privately owned or owned by a corporation methadone clinic, and in my thing, if it's just a government run site, well, that $14 doesn't have to go anywhere for profit. So we're all saving $14 because Medicaid's being billed for that $14. We're paying for it anyways.
Hmm.
So I just think that the state should be providing these services to people for free because they are citizens and they are people and
Well,
they
I mean, the state is Medicaid, so essentially they are providing the services for free.
right, but they could also be running the building and hiring the doctors
In a
and doing
sense,
all
so the thing
that.
is, like, in a sense, they do, because we're held to state regulations and we have annual, semi-annual, or quarterly audits depending on how strict we adhere to state regulations.
Right.
So it's almost like what's happening with the for-profit companies is that the state is subsidizing the cost of running their own methadone clinics by allowing private companies to run their own.
Yes.
Which, good fucking God. Again, I hadn't put that together until this conversation right here, right now. Until
Yeah.
I
And
literally said that to you. It's fucking bananas. It's
yeah, and
fucking bananas.
it's just where people, and I get, look, I'm a big fan of the concept of taxes. I hate fucking paying them,
Right?
like everyone
Yeah.
else. I hate looking at my check and seeing how much I made before taxes.
Yeah, I don't do that.
So, um, but I still think of how much tax money we spend. We would still be spending less if we offered more things for free that didn't have to go through these for profit things like our prisons. We can it would probably cost the communities that they're built in a lot less
Yeah,
if
look,
it just went through the state.
I mean, I don't think we'll argue that like we should end for-profit prison.
Yeah.
That's just a bad idea.
Yeah. And I'm really big on ending for profit almost everything. Like, just, I think I've put that out there. For profit rehab, for profit
Mm,
prisons, for
mm,
profit healthcare.
mm. Oh yeah,
I'm ending it all.
like definitely all of those things. I think we agree on.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
ending it all.
yeah.
We don't need them.
My problem is like I don't like the idea of consolidating power in the hands of the state, because the state is just made up of people, and most of the time it's people who are less courageous and less integral than your average person.
Oh, come on. The dumbest people in this country are the ones that are running it.
Exactly. 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 Because the people who are smart are like, I don't want any fucking thing to do with that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like the dumbest people. Ugh. I just think about that all the time. They're all so fucking stupid. Like the average person could do a better job. Just like
agreed.
you, wherever we put you to fill the seat in the House of Representatives for the district you're in, you'll do a better job than who's ever in there. I guarantee it.
Pretty much. Because,
You have
like, I
real
care
life
about people.
experience.
I care about people.
Yeah.
Like, and I want to affect actual change.
Yeah.
I don't give a
But
shit about corporations. I don't give a shit about profits. I think that like sacrificing profits in the short term is one of the best ways to ensure that our country prospers in the long term.
exactly.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's really, so that's why I hate capitalism, because these are all, it's like the billionaires will never let you be in charge because you want to end their hold on this country. So
Yes.
that's kind of the world we live in. And I'm starting to realize that both sides, I'm one of those people that, look, I have my beliefs there. They are what they are. But as far as American politics go, I hate pretty much everyone. Like I hate Republicans, I hate
Yeah.
Democrats, and then all those minor parties, I hate them too.
I mean, I would say that like if I had to categorize myself, I would put myself in the libertarian side. I'm like socially liberal but fiscally conservative. Um,
Makes sense.
to an extent, yeah, it does. It does. But like politics, just generally, is not something I'm very interested in. So I don't have a like. It's probably like my lowest or like my least robust knowledge base, just like
Yeah.
across the board. I know very
Yeah.
little about politics, and it's partially mostly because I just it's one of the very few things that I'm like I can't find a way to be interested in.
Yeah, I find like I like the concept of talking about like what would make a better government, like the bigger government. Like, is it a
Mm,
would is a bigger government better, a smaller government better? Like talking
mm.
about politics, like what's going on in the House of Representatives.
Oh my god, I couldn't be more bored.
Yeah, like sometimes I find it interesting when the person who's talking about it is like enthused
Mm,
because
fair enough.
that, but like I don't really
But
care.
then you're interested in the enthusiasm, not necessarily in the thing itself, which
Yeah.
I think actually is probably just reality. You
Yeah.
I think we're much more interested in something when somebody's enthused about it than the thing itself.
Yeah, if your friend's telling you something that, and it's something that they really like and they're really into it, like, yeah, I'm going to
Hmm.
listen and be into it because you're really into it and you're really excited about it.
Exactly.
So, but
But if you,
past
I
that,
mean, but if you have somebody who's like, Bill 497
yeah.
taxation, like what the, shut up. What?
And everyone treats politics like they're picking a side or it's like sports.
Yes.
Like you're on the blue
Yes.
team, you're on the red team.
So you're evil. Yeah.
And yeah, and everyone's like, and I talk to like a lot of regular people, and regular people are all over the place in their beliefs,
Absolutely.
all over the place.
Absolutely.
Like it's not so, oh, I'm a Democrat, I agree with everything the Democrats
Yeah,
do. That's insane.
it's not so Coke and Pepsi with most people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like most people, they want to vote for the person, and because they have strong opinions about roads, and strong opinions about prison reform, but they like hate abortion. People are
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Very weird. And
Like
and and
this.
and and it's like it doesn't matter really who you elect in. The policy is virtually the same regardless.
Yeah, nothing changes. Like nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing changes for anyone. And they try to guilt you into being like, oh, okay, so let me look at you. You're a white dude. You're a white man. Would you tell a woman that nothing changes? Yeah, of course you would, because nothing changes for you.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, but all of these people that they're claiming to help, nothing is changing for them either. You know?
Mm.
Like they're like,
Yeah,
oh, you,
like again, 97% recidivism rate. Nothing is changing for the people in the prisons. Nothing.
yeah,
Except they become better criminals. That's pretty much unanimous. Anybody you talk to in the prison says that they became a better criminal after coming to prison.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like that's the only opportunity we give them.
And for a lot of them, it's the only opportunity that they realistically have. Like, you can't support a family of four on a minimum wage job at the Dollar Tree, right? But you
No,
can support a family of four on $400,000 a year that you make dealing drugs.
exactly.
So it's not even a question for so many of these people.
Right. I think most crimes are somehow related to poverty. Most,
Yes,
not all, obviously.
agreed.
And that you just have to get to the root cause of poverty and you have to
Mm,
fix poverty. Like you
mm,
can't have people living poor. Like we're the richest country in the world. I live in Brooklyn. I see homeless people every day.
mm,
There's a hotel right down the block from me that's housed with migrants.
mm.
They have no place to go. We're the richest country in the world. Why are all these people living like this?
I had a
That's
thought literally just right now, because I'm pretty like interested. Interested is not the right word. Concerned maybe about North Korea, and so I'm maybe more aware than the average person of what's going on in North Korea.
oh,
But you said I think three times in the last 30 seconds we're the richest country in the world.
right.
Are we though?
I don't even know if we
Because
are
again,
anymore.
like if we're thinking about North Korea, North Korea says that they're the richest country in the world. That's
Right.
what they tell their people.
We
So
might not even be the richest country in the world,
right,
but that's what they tell us. So if
right.
we're sitting here saying we're the wealthiest country in the world,
Hmm.
why do we have people living in the conditions that they're living in this country? That's what I think about, because we just cycle them through prison, we cycle them through rehab, we cycle them through any of these programs that make a profit because billionaires are getting richer.
I mean,
It's what the whole country's about.
I think that there's a lot to unpack. There's so much to unpack here.
There is.
Oh God.
It's, and as I've said, I think it's a symptom of capitalism that this is what capitalism is. Like, I know that socialism and communism don't, in the way they're presented to people, don't appeal to people because they're presented as authoritarian. And Stalin was an authoritarian. Stalin was a dirtbag. Okay. I mean, if you've ever seen a picture of him when he was young, though, he had very nice hair. Um,
Sure.
but he was, yeah, no, there's a joke, an internet joke about young Stalin's kind of hot, and he is kind of hot. So, but he was a shitbag, and Lenin wasn't great either because, like, why did he turn it into an authoritarian state? But, it doesn't have to be that way because it's just an economic system. Like capitalism doesn't work for anyone other than the wealthiest people in the world. That's how I feel.
Hmm.
And it's just shown time and time again in all of these for-profit things. And I'll bring it right back to the prisons again. That's capitalism is doing that. And those are real people, and they have value. They have humanity. They're real people. And we treat them like they're not because
Mm.
capitalism just is crushing everyone in this country. That's how I feel about all those things. That's my stoner rant for you.
Well, I appreciate it. Um, Again, I think we agree on a lot of things. I think what we agree on is that, see, I wouldn't say capitalism is what's crushing people in this country. I would say greed is what's crushing people in this country. Um, and see, my issue, I think, just generally with communism is like I don't like the idea of consolidating power in the hands of the state. I just don't like it.
See, I can appreciate this,
Mm,
and I completely understand it, and also anyone who talks to me in good faith can't offend me.
mm,
I just want to put that out there. There's nothing you're going to say to disagree with me that will offend me if you're discussing in good faith. You know what I'm
and I
saying?
completely I agree with you. I and but I think one of the attributes of good faith is like knowing where your boundary is, and it's like I don't know enough about economics. I don't
Oh,
know
that's
enough
fair.
about politics. I don't know enough about any of this stuff to really like, but I know that it doesn't feel right to consolidate power in the hands of the state. But I also know that it's very similar to consolidate power in the hands of corporations, and I don't like that either.
Right. And I mean, and I understand that because I agree with you that there's things that you'd have to put in place if the state had that much power, you know, to make sure that it wasn't abused, and
Right.
I don't know how to do that.
Right.
That's why I'm not
I think
going to write a book on theory.
one of the other problems with this too is that like just because you're noble and virtuous, right? So if we give you all of the power and you affect this great change. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are in the shadows looking to take you out, to take your place, to be able to do essentially the opposite of what you're trying to do.
Exactly. And that's where, I always think you have to have these kind of discussions because you're going to have a different perspective
Mm,
on what might be the problem.
mm,
Like already, like I will agree with you that I don't know because there's shitty people in the world. And I think I always have a saying you can line people up, group them any way you want by height, by gender, by skin color, by age, anything. Most of them are good people,
mm.
but there's going to be some shitty ones.
Sure.
It's always shitty
Sure.
people.
I think it's about 3% of the population is like fits the God, what's the word? The diagnoses, I guess, for psychopathology. So like 3% of the population always is going to be They're always going to be psychopaths.
Yeah, they're shitty people.
Yeah,
So that exists, but I do have faith in humanity that most people
absolutely.
at the core of who they are good people.
Right. And I mean, not just good, but like there's some, again, like working in the prisons and actually being able to work with these guys. It's more than just good, right? There's like real virtue in these people. There's some of the like the hardest working people that I've ever met are
Yeah.
locked up in these prisons where they can't produce their own art, and it kills me. Kills me.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I care a lot about people, like the concept of people.
Mm.
Like, I'm always thinking like about like I mention them a lot, the homeless people like that live in my neighborhood. Like they shouldn't live like that. Like I care very much about people more than my own politics. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because I'm losing my thought. Yeah, I lost it. This happens often.
No, it's good. I think it's about the point, the time, the
Oh, yes,
place.
midnight.
Um, oh no, I don't think you understood. Um,
Oh,
so I have this. Hold on. I have this box, right? I don't know if you can see it.
yep.
But this is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean I appreciate people who know who they are. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about your podcast is that it's just like everybody is who they are. And so it makes it very personable in that way.
Yeah. Well, we do, we play up a little, I don't want to say character. Definitely we don't play characters.
Right.
And it's not even like a caricature, a slight exaggeration of yourself,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
You turn it up a little bit. You're in performance mode. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it because that's me too when I do the reaction thing or when I do even maybe not necessarily this podcast, but like definitely the reaction thing is like I'm turning up the personality dial, right? Intentionally.
Yeah. It's like an enhanced version of yourself, and you sort of pick the subjects because, like, okay, legit, me and Heather, we're both big talkers. So we'll like
Sure.
talk on the phone. I was on the phone with her for 2 hours before this.
Mm.
So, like, you can imagine, like, that's not all exciting. We'll
Right.
talk for 45 minutes about the weather. So, you leave stuff like that about your personality out and just do the played up version of yourself.
For sure. And like I think at a certain point in the past, I would have felt like that was fake or phony. But it's like, no. Because the whole point of, like, if you're going to watch a movie, even if you're going to go, you live in Rome and whatever, whenever Rome was a thing, and you went to see a play or whatever, like the whole point was the performance of the thing. So if you're not going to be entertaining, why are you doing the thing?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So now I'm a little in my head. and
You're good. It's interesting, right? Because there's like for me there's always been this idea that people are like, we're not physical, we're harmonic. And so if we jive with each other, right? We even call it like, oh, we vibe, right?
yeah.
But that's a vibe is like a harmony. It's a coalescence of tones in music. It's not a thing that it's not a physical thing. And I think really ultimately what we are is more closely described as frequency than physicality. That's
Yeah.
the kind of shit I think about when I get high.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time thinking about the concept of time.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's like,
One of my favorite things ever.
yeah, when you can't wrap your head around, like one of the things I can never wrap my head around. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it anyways. My human brain is incapable of processing the concept. But when I'm high, I get real into it. That things to me have a starting point and an ending point because I, as a
Okay.
human, have a starting point and an ending point.
Sure.
But the concept of the universe as when did it start? How did it start? What if there is no start? I like spend a lot of time thinking about that. There's no starting point to it. There's no ending point to it. It's time is eternal, like that KLF song.
You know, I don't have no idea who KLF is.
It's okay.
No, I mean, you don't. Uh, okay, hold on. Um.
Okay.
So the reflective aspect of my personality is very enhanced by weed.
All
What
right.
does that make sense? Do you
Yes.
understand me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Um, which is why I don't like to do it when so much when I have to be social. It's not like weed isn't necessarily a social thing for me because it enhances the reflective quality so intensely. To the words like I need to consider these things. I don't know. You know what I mean though.
Yes.
I think because I took the time earlier that it makes sense now, and you're a good listener, so the whole thing works.
Yes.
Um,
Okay. I'm just going to say that was a solid joke that I made
okay.
when I said
I'm
like
actually
the
really interested.
KLF song.
I'm actually really interested in this because I think I missed it, which means there's something that I can understand about it. Um, can you rewind?
Yes.
Okay. What was the joke?
Okay, so KLF is, if you don't know the song, KLF was a really bad. No, it's not bad. It's not terrible. It was just it was weird at for the time song that came out in the 90s, and it's 3 a.m. 3 a.m. And it just says 3 a.m. is eternal. Then KLF is going to rock in. It's this weird song about
Are you familiar with Terrence McKenna?
Um, I don't know. I don't really know anything by name. Who is Terrence McKenna?
Okay. He's my friend. I mean, he's not
Uh,
really. I've never met him, but
is
let me see if I can send you something.
Can you share screen?
I believe I can.
Yeah, this is Zoom. Yeah, go right down to the bottom and you'll see share
So
screen.
I have to find
All right.
something specific first. Um. No. Okay, we can just do this one. I don't know. Um,
I was in the shower.
All
I
right.
saw that.
No, I'm sorry. My husband was just bringing me another edible. Thank you.
another one. All
Yeah,
right. Are we
the
just getting
small one.
started? Is that what's happening?
No, this is a small one,
Oh, just a small one.
a little 5 milligram.
That's like,
These ones are perfect for when I'm going to go
does
to
your
bed
husband want to
later,
come
too.
on and talk to us?
No, he's about to go to bed.
Oh, okay. Tell him good night.
Okay. Fupa,
What?
he says good night.
Hey.
He says good night.
I would like to talk to him.
Oh,
I would. If he needs to go to
yeah.
bed, he needs to go to bed. But
Fupa,
What?
are you going to bed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's definitely going to bed.
oh,
He
that's
wants
cool.
to talk to you.
I mean, we can talk next
Okay.
week. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. Maybe he'll come on with you next week.
I'll do it next time.
Yeah, he's just said
Yeah.
he'll do it next time.
Sounds like fun.
He's fun.
Okay. Share screen. I was gonna do that.
But there's no sound.
Oh, there's no sound?
Yeah, so when you go to share screen,
Citizens.
so if you stop the share real quick,
Okay.
I used to do this all the time. Like not share the sound.
Right.
So when you go to share screen, okay.
Yeah.
Down in the bottom left-hand corner,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a little box that's you can click share sound.
Okay, let me see.
It's always unchecked. When you're picking the screen, it's like should bring up go share screen, it brings up a little screen.
Mm.
And
Oh
then
yeah,
the
there it
bottom.
is. There it is.
Yep.
Okay, let's see if that worked.
Yep.
Cool.
Citizens don't take psychedelics because it's illegal. Neither do marionettes. Neither do robots. None of these well-behaved and mechanistic reductionist images of humanity take psychedelics because it's misbehaving. Misbehaving is a great sin. In fact, it's enshrined as the first sin. You'll regard that the psychedelic issue was there in Eden, and somebody misbehaved, and then they got tossed out forever, and their children's children into the chaos of history. It's interesting to read in Genesis why this was. It was because they will become as we are, says Yahweh. They will become as we are if they eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. I suggest to you that this is precisely what we should seek to do. We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity. It's a wonderful thing to learn to be able to stand up and yell bullshit, because so much is being slung And nobody is talking about the primacy of experience and the dignity of the individual. The dignity of the individual. We went a long way with this in America before we betrayed it. And it wasn't only betrayed by the clowns in Washington. It's also betrayed by anybody who clusters themselves around the feet of some self-proclaimed nabob. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Nobody has the faintest idea. The best guesses are lies. You may be sure of it. And so to pretend that one human being will lead another out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth is ludicrous, absolutely grotesque, a product of this empowering of the human image that has gone on through several thousand years of dominator culture. If you want a teacher, try a waterfall or a mushroom or a mountain wilderness or a storm-pounded seashore. This is where the action is. It's not back in the hive. It's not in the anthill. It's not knocking your head against the floor in front of somebody who claims that because of their lineage and whose feet they washed and whose feet they washed, that you should give credence to them. Knowledge is provisional, and we are yet to approach even the first moment of civilized understanding. The way it is to be done is by trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. Reject authority. Authority is a lie and an abomination. Authority will lead you into ruin. It's not real. And it isn't, don't get the idea that it's this liberal rap about how everybody has a piece of the action. You know, the Jews know something, the Buddhists know something, the Huichol know something. Nonsense. Rubbish. Nobody knows anything. These are different kinds of shell games that have been worked out by priestly castes of people to keep things under control. Institutions seek to maximize control, control, control. That's what they're into. Did you think they were in the business of enlightening you? Saving your soul? Forget it. Control is what this is all about. And to the degree that we commit ourselves to ideology, we are poisoned. Any ideology, Marxism, Catholicism, objectivism, you name it, rubbish, all rubbish. What is real is experience. What is real is this moment. And so then what it becomes about is, what are the frontiers of experience? How much of that has been taken away from us by these dominators, by these priesthoods, by these cults, by these philosophical shell games? Well, a lot. That's the whole story of history. Our growing unease, our growing dis-ease, our malaise is all about the fact that we are kept from the wellspring of experience. We are sexually repressed. You may not feel it, but look back 100 years to a world where pianos wore pants. You know, maybe we've made a little progress on the sexual thing. Maybe not. Maybe more or less than we think. But we are repressed in all of these areas. And we are particularly repressed in the area that relates to the psychedelic experience. Because it is raid to the dominator insect invasion. They can't take it. They can't stand it because it empowers the individual. It dissolves the cheerful model of science. It's just exposed as, a nice story. It enriches the accessible universe tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. It makes the individual complete within his or her self. And this completion of the individual is extremely destructive to the plan of the dominators, which is that you will be a cog in a machine. You will participate in the life of an organization, not your life, the life of an organization. You will go to some bullshit job. You will pour the best years of your life and your genius and your hopes into this. You will serve an institution. You will serve. Well, it's a bad idea for free people to go along with this. A much better idea would be to insist on the dignity of human beings, to recognize that the freeing of slaves, the giving of the vote to women, the ending of public whippings, that this program of political enlightenment must also then include hands-off on how people want to relate to changing their minds. We are not interested in being sexually regulated by the state, and we are not interested in being intellectually, spiritually, emotionally manipulated by the state. The state should stand down in this issue. The state is acting as the enforcing arm of the dominator culture, specifically of fundamentalist screwballs who, are horrified by all this, by the notion that people would claim the authenticity of their own minds, that people would stand in the light of nature and reject original sin and the guilt from Eden and, the sins of the fathers and all this rubbish which is handed down. What the archaic revival is going to have to mean, if it has teeth, is a re-empowering of the individual and a consequent lowering of the profile of institutions, especially government. We need to think about these things because we have bought into the idea that we have to serve and behave and be enslaved, else chaos will engulf the world. We need to carry out our analysis of the situation to the point where we can embrace chaos and see that chaos is the environment in which we all thrive. If we continue as we have, then, we're doomed. And the judgment of some higher power on that will be, they didn't even struggle. They went to the boxcars with their suitcases and they didn't even struggle. This is too nightmarish to contemplate. We're talking about the fate of a whole planet. Why are people so polite? Why are they so patient? Why are they so forgiving of gangsterism and betrayal? It's very difficult to understand. I believe it's because the dominator culture is increasingly more and more sophisticated in its perfection of subliminal mechanisms of control. And I don't mean anything grandiose and paranoid. I just mean that through press releases and sound bites and the enforced idiocy of television, the drama of a dying world has been turned into a soap opera for most people. And they don't understand that it's their story and that they will eat it in the final act if somewhere between here and the final act they don't stand up on their hind legs and howl. So this whole effort to bring the psychedelic experience back into prominence is an effort to empower individuals and to get them to see that we are bled of our authenticity by vampirish institutions that will never of their own accord leave us alone. There must be a moment when the machinery and the working of the machinery becomes so odious that people are willing to stride forward and throw sand on the track and force a reevaluation of the situation. And it's not done through organizing. It's not done through vanguard parties or cadres of intellectual elites. It's done through just walking away from all of that. Claiming your identity, claiming your vision, your being, your intuition, and then acting from that without regret, cleanly, without regret.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of After School.
I liked the animation for one.
Sure.
And then I really liked like what he was saying. Like I get it.
Whoa. What? Say it again.
Have you ever played Jackbox games?
What are Jackbox games?
So they're like, I guess they're called like party games. You play them, you buy them, and in packs. And there's like the pack will have like 5 different games on it. You load it up on your computer, and the way you play is you use your phone, you log into a room code,
Okay.
and you use your phone to answer the questions and play the games, and they're really silly and fun.
Gotcha.
So they're easily played over Zoom. All I have to do is share the screen. So
Oh.
I'm an expert on screen sharing. Because I've been doing this since
You do this weekly? How does this work?
weekly with my parents every Sunday night. My parents,
Every
Fupa's
Sunday.
parents, and my parents' friends, and this couple that are friends with my parents, and me and Fupa play games.
From what time?
8 o'clock to about 10. Almost like we have Sundays that we take off and stuff like that, but pretty much almost every Sunday night. And I started doing this when we were locked down during COVID.
And do you all, I mean, is it so is it kind of like a podcast?
No, it's just something that we do.
Yeah,
I don't share it anywhere.
Right. But you all like talk to each other in real time.
Yeah, it's like a Zoom meeting. So we're talking to each other in real time, and on the shared screen is the games.
That sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so then you're just doing it on your phone. So everyone's sitting there, they enter the room code on their phone or their iPads if that's what they want to use. And you can play, you answer all the questions, and there's like writing games and like drawing games. We play with Sarah and Heather and Sarah's boyfriend Carl like all the time. There's this one where you write these raps, and then the robots will rap them for you.
Oh man.
But they write the
What?
first line, and you just give them one word for the first line. And then so they write the first line with that one word in it, and then you have to write the follow-up line.
Okay.
Verses.
Listen. I've heard enough. Can I come play with you?
Of course. Absolutely.
This sounds like more fun than I can bear.
We'll email you and we'll figure it out. It is. Then we have another one that's a drawing game that so you're just drawing like with your finger on your phone. It's real dumb. And 2 people are drawing at the same time, and then we vote for which one was the best, and then 2 more people have to add to that drawing. And those get ridiculous because all of us like to draw dicks. So it's always just like everything that we're supposed to draw ends up being a lot of dicks.
This sounds like a lot of fun for me.
It's really fun. And then we play like Fupa and I play with our parents, and it's a little bit cleaner.
I'm sorry. Do you call him Fupa in real life? How
No,
does this work?
I call him by his real name in real life.
Okay, because it's so natural.
Oh yeah, because I mean at this point I have like a bunch of nicknames for him. So I just usually call him one of those things anyways, or his real first name.
I mean,
Sometimes I just call him
really
Bud.
like each other. just
Yeah.
from what I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
We have a good marriage because we have not just like a good relationship with like a connection. We have a good friendship.
Mm,
Like Fupa and
I like
I
that.
get along like really well in I hate saying it about your partner, but in that friendship way. Like we can really joke around with each other. So it works. Like our nicknames for each other, we like call each other butt, but a lot of times we just call each other hole. Like we're like, hey, what's up,
That's so
hole?
awesome.
So like so yeah, I'm used to like calling him Fupa.
That's awesome. I mean, I, I think one of the reasons I downplay it, I think a little bit, but it feels like because I spoke about my daughter earlier in the podcast, and
Yes.
I feel I made a comment that like, oh, we must be doing something right as parents if we're seeing this behavior in our children, but I know that it's not a surprise to see the behavior in our children because both me and my wife work our ass off to be good
Right.
parents.
Oh, that's
So
good.
so one of the things that I realized pretty early on, like I've been with my wife for over 13 years now.
Hmm.
One of the things that I realized very early on was that, oh shit, people are fucking crazy. Like across, like they're, but like each individual is an aspect of infinity. And so you can really dig into somebody in a way that, there's always some new perspective that you can have on an individual because they're an expression of infinity. So if you're bored with somebody, if you're annoyed by somebody, if you're whatever, and it doesn't matter how much time you've spent with them, because infinity is infinity. It's not their problem, right? Because there's always a new perspective that you can take that will revitalize you in the process. And so what that means, I think, in layman's terms, is that it's up to you whether or not you like somebody, because there's always a
Yeah.
new perspective that you can take on them. And so to hear how long have you guys been married
Oh, like so Fupa and I met
or
it's a
together? Or married doesn't
it's
really
a
matter. Like together,
it's a first marriage. So first I want to say it is a first marriage for both of us because people
that's
will
awesome.
immediately assume it was a second marriage. We met 10 years ago. I was 39 and he was 36. So then we got married, I think in 2017. And that's why I say it. We were 40 and 43 when we got married. So people just assume that's a second marriage.
Mm.
But no, we just met late in life. But we're New Yorkers. We both live in New York. Like
So so
there's
so your
just
so your first marriage,
first marriage.
and you guys have basically been together for 10 years.
Yeah.
And
And almost like inseparable since we met, the night we met.
10 years is a long time.
Hmm.
10 years is um, definitely enough time to get to know somebody, to know if you like can spend even longer with them. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, like all couples, as you know, you're married. It's not like you don't fight,
mhm,
and it's
sure,
not like all couples, every couple has the blowout fight, the one where like, oh, I just gotta get away from them, you know, every once in a while. And every
sure.
couple also just, you're sitting at them and you're
I mean,
like, I am
if you're
so
not, then
annoyed with you right now.
what could you be said to actually be doing? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think the important part of the relationship, and I think this is what you were touching on, was that you just get through those things. Like, yeah, so
Yeah.
we fight, we're yelling at each other, we're mad, you know, I gotta go out for a walk, you know. I'm
Like,
gonna get through it. I have
good.
two choices: stick with them or get through it. And you know, you're gonna learn more about a person if you stick with them.
And you're also going to learn more about yourself. It's like if you can't solve this problem with this person here, what makes you think you're going to be able to solve it with anybody else? Right?
Exactly.
Like I know for me, all of the problems that I've had with my wife have always come with like correlate problems that I have with myself. And so if I can't solve those, what makes me think that I'm going to have better luck somewhere else?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you do it with the person who's already putting up with you,
Right. Right.
you know. And if you, I just a big fan. If you have a good friendship with
Yeah.
them, you can get through it.
And
My
I think
parents,
that's what I was getting at. But
yeah,
go ahead.
my,
Your parents.
my parents have been together since they're gonna it's oh my god 60 years.
Mm.
They met in the summer before they started high school. So, and they got married very young, like 19 and 21. And so, and they've stayed married. Um, but my parents have like an excellent friendship with each other.
Mm.
You know, it's not just, you know, he's the dad and the husband, she's the mom and the wife. Like my parents are friends with each other.
Right. They like each other.
Yeah, they like to
Yeah.
do things together, and they've always, my entire life, made sure to do things together. And I think that's very important for a
Mm.
relationship.
Completely agree with you. So,
You know, Fupa and I do lots of stuff together. We do lots of stuff separate too. You got to.
I mean, 100%. Like, there's goodness. Um. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. It is just about 2 hours into this thing
Okay.
from start to finish. So, I'm gonna go ahead and end the podcast itself, but I would like to keep talking to you for a little while.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
If you're okay with that, I just
Yeah, that's
like
fine.
the added pressure. I think is
Yeah, that's fine.
so
That's fine.
okay. All right, I'll record an ending later. So.